Yeah, it's Moma, and that was just a little hometown music to energize me, like a little shot of coffee to get us ready. So again, we've got another special podcast. Myself, Moma,
Rude boy.
and we've got a special guest today.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Special
sir.
guest.
Special guest,
MDP.
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 Yes,
My Detroit players.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
yes. So
Such we're in location in Abu Dhabi. Abidjan. Yo, man, I can't even say it. But
what,
anyways, my Detroit.
Undisclosed.
Abuja?
Abuja?
Oh, okay, okay. The capital,
That's
Abuja.
right. We're
Okay, yes,
Abuja.
we're all in Abuja in a cafe right now. There was a little scuffle earlier on, and that's what you heard from the music, but it's cleared up a bit. So we're just sharing a jug of palm wine, and we're about to get into some special discussions today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Rude Boy, you go into it a little bit. We wouldn't,
Yes.
and yeah, let them know what we're gonna do.
Okay, my Detroit players. Yeah, we called you onto the podcast. Like your flow, like some of the things you said. I think you got a lot of information that you can give to us and add value to what we're trying to do here. So, without further delay, tell us about yourself and your situation.
Yeah. So, as the name implies, originally from Detroit, moved and when I was really young to West Michigan. So we, kind of had a Midwest upbringing, but in a lot of ways, I kind of think that my upbringing has a lot to do with how my game developed and how I am today. I like a lot of the guys or some of the guys on the forum. I had a two-parent upbringing, but my mom's was really strict, with the religion thing. So I think with all that suppression, man, kind of caused me to kind of like wild out a little bit, and it got me into a lot of situations. But you know, just to touch on my game origins, you know, my biological dad, who I never met, or just kind of heard of, you know, when people say things are biological, man, it's true to form because some of the stories I hear about him are some of the same things I've lived out in person, and without even knowing of his existence, and but I had a couple uncles who were really deep with, they were really, I guess, what you would call, really players that were really deep in the game, and a lot of the things or my thought patterns or how I go about, my approach to women is stuff I learned from them, just watching, soaking it up, and just observing. So
Okay, and I guess you were, I guess, how to say, you were married, right?
yeah, yeah, I was married for a little time, and that just to touch on that situation. I got married, man, in my mid 20s, and obviously now, um, we all know, that marriage in the West, it's been harped on how it is and everything, and I would say a lot of things led to that situation, and I think it was um, my mom had died when I was around the same time. I was going through some really it was really a trippy time for me. So I kind of felt like I had accomplished a lot of things that I wanted to do. I never really saw myself getting married, first of all. So the whole shit was kind of blindsided me, and like I said, I went into it knowing what I was doing, but I have to be honest, man. I mean, I was kind of true to form. I mean, I really, in some ways, I don't have any regrets, but I did a lot of things that I guess traditional that wouldn't keep a traditional marriage together. I was kind of I was still a player, to be honest with you. So
Do you think that a lot of times I hear that seems to be the make or break for a lot of lizards will say that because the man stepped out or had a tendency of stepping out that it couldn't work. And I don't know if necessarily I want to subscribe to that because I feel that men do that all over the place. It's just one of the best statements that I've heard in another environment was that some permit it. It's not something that's openly accepted, but it's
Right.
understood as long as the man maintains the main nest. So
Yeah.
if he's got the wife, he's got the kids, they get taken care of before the side piece gets taken care of, and that's the implicit understanding. So as
Yeah.
long as that's in place, that's fine. But I find in the West they they seem to expect that the man is supposed to be absolutely monogamous, and for whatever reasons, whether true or whether he just has a need to spread himself in different environments, I don't know if that's, you know, a give or take on a marriage. And just to cap it off, I was at a meeting with a few people. They were that's when I lived in the dot, so they were all the dot is Toronto. They were all West Indian, either. Yes. Huh? What was that?
T dot, T dot.
Yes, yes. The T dot or the dot, as some will abbreviate it even further to. But they were all of West Indian, West Indian and West African descent. But one of the women who was from, I'm gonna say Antigua or Saint Kitts, I can't remember. She was saying that she broke up with her husband because of rare this and that. And the mom was like, "For what? Did he hit you?" And she's like, "No." So her mom's obviously an older West Indian woman who's pretty much grown up in the West Indies. So her attitude was that was basically, you've got a good man. If he's not threatening your life, what are the reasons? And I took that on board because I like to listen to the older lot. So that was my kind of take on that. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I can expand on that, man. I definitely feel like that has a lot of credence what you said because um, I think, looking back at things now, hindsight is 2020. But looking back at it, man, a lot of times she would do a lot of shit when I was married to ensure that, because she knew I was, she knew who I was, and I honestly believe a woman knows, you know, the woman knows who she's dealing with. When she gets with you, and you got her out. The way you got her is basically where you're gonna keep her. And you have to keep creating that intrigue, and you have to leave a little. Even with your marriage, you have to leave a little mystery, man. You can't be, if a chick reads you, knows everything. It's just like, you know, it's just like if she can read the whole book, in 6 months, then what else is it to you? So there has to be um the same way you get that woman, the same way you keep that woman, And with my situation, moving back to what you were talking about, there'd be times I'll go out of town to visit family, or I'm just going out of town to do whatever, just to get some fresh air. She would make it a point to, give me sex. You know what I'm saying? And like this might have been a woman who was mad at me just a couple hours ago, but she knows I'm packing my bag, I'm throwing my toothbrush in there, I'm smelling good, I'm looking good, you know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, hold up, let me bust you down real quick, kind of. What I mean? Let me bust you down. Let me drain your balls real quick before you leave home. So women play those kind of games, man, and that's some real deep shit. But I mean, obviously, I knew what she was doing, and it really didn't stop anything because after a little nap, shit, I was back at it. But on a serious note, though, I just kind of feel like it is implicit, man. A lot of times women know what kind of man that they have. And I do feel like women use that as an excuse to bail. And then you have the other lizards, their best friends or whatever in their ear. And, it could get really messy. But I think especially, with my situation, there was a lot of, don't ask, don't tell going on, and I really kept everything. I kept the house up. I did everything. And then, there was a point in time where, I had really gotten sick. And, I know we're going to touch on that here later. But, things a lot of things changed. A lot of resentment came out with that. But marriage game, man, you don't get no days off. Like when you living with a chick or married or whatever, you don't get days off, man. So it really sharpens your game, though. I mean, we all know you can't stop gaming when you're married anyway.
I
So
I like that point you said about women. I think a lot of guys, I don't know if any of you guys, I don't think you guys, but I think a lot of guys in general underestimate women. And I,
mhm.
I think the point you made about they can read you from the get-go,
Yes,
where a lot of guys I think are blind to that, or they go into a relationship with a woman, they think they're slick, or they think, they're, oh, I'm smarter than her and she can't tell what I'm up to, or she can't read me. But a lot of girls, I mean, I've been talking to a girl recently, and she's trying to test me, right? And they'll
okay.
test you, right? They'll make comments about maybe try and pick out your flaws, right?
Yeah,
And this particular woman, I don't know if it's a black woman thing, because I find okay, well, you laugh there, but they'll try and pick out on your flaws. And for
yeah,
me, I'm at an age where you really can't diss me, because I've heard it, I've been through it, I've been through a lot worse than what anybody can say to me. So I like that point. I don't know, Moma, what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree completely with what you're saying. I'm a bit of a thinker, and every every podcast we've done, I've taken something from everyone and I mull it over and I add it to my experiences. So in that sense, I mean, the fact that women are the weaker sex, anytime you're at a disadvantage, your other skills are going to come up to par to
mhm,
match that, to ensure that you remain competitive and you stay alive. If a woman was not able to read a man back in the days, man will spark you out. And what I mean by spark you out is knock you dead. It's only
mhm,
modern time that we've got laws in place. And I mean, these laws they're not physical laws. Like you got the law of nature and you've got the law of man. So if a man and a woman are in close quarters, and I'm not advocating anything by the way, because I don't do that, but I'm just saying potential. If a man and a woman are in close quarters and a woman does not read that man right, a man is stronger than that woman. One blow, blam, she's finished. End of
mhm,
story. Don't matter if he's maga or if he's built. She's finished. So she has to have an ability to read emotions. She has to not only have that innate ability but to train it. So because of that, they're always monitoring you. They might throw little
mhm,
testers out, shit tests as they
mhm,
call it. All these little things to see. Sometimes they give a little, they take a little. You think that you've gained something, but they gave that little gain in order to I
right.
guess gamble, or not gamble but to trade in for a larger gain. So they might give you a little something knowing that after you bust a nut your tongue waggles a little bit more than normal.
Ah,
you,
yes,
you
yes,
know what I
yes,
mean? So
yes.
it's like, oh baby, 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 what do you think of my sister? You think she's cute? Yeah, I don't mind if you say, and you're already woozy because you done broke off, a whole nut load. So you're like, yeah, she alright. So she's like, okay, you know what I mean? So just stuff like that in
Yeah.
examples. So I definitely agree that they're like that, and I concur with MDP. I've not been married, but I have lived with two two lizards.
Yeah.
One was Asian, or in the UK we call that Oriental, but in America or North America it's Asian. She was real cool, and I've lived with a black woman, and she was running all sorts of bullshit, but it is what it
Yeah.
is. So
Yeah.
I definitely understand what you're saying, and I've definitely lived through it. So I
Yeah.
concur completely.
I wanna, man, I really, I mean, what you made an excellent point too. I wanna, before we go on, man, I wanna highlight that a woman has had to develop that kind of sixth sense, someone, because she knows what that guy is capable of or whatever, So I don't really feel like it's a surprise when they feel like, oh, they pull the sheet off and, oh wow, this guy was carrying on this affair, or he whatever, most guys, unless you are very experienced in this whole kind of lifestyle or whatever you want to call it, most guys have tails. They're gonna you go from a guy that's in a house 6 days a week, and now all of a sudden now you don't come home a couple nights, or so a lot of guys are sloppy with it. So but I kind of feel like again, we all know, we know that this is this is biological. This is natural. But I think in a lot of ways, like you said, some women will try to shame you into thinking like, but like you said, the older women, the more experienced women, and I think, my mom's generation and her mom's generation, man, they knew what kind of men they had. And those kind of men, like I said, I was speaking on my biological before, he has, I'm like, be honest with you, I'm an outside kid. You know what I mean? I'm an outside kid for him. Like I have brothers and sisters, man, who are like, 20, 25 years older than me. You know what I mean? And that's real. I mean, that's he had several families. There's a couple kids that popped up out of the woodwork. And his wife, you know, you know, rest in peace. She was really, I never got a chance to meet her, but they kind of wanted to bring me into the fold a little later on. But when I've just recently met like a lot of my brothers and sisters on my biological dad's side in the last 10 years, because that was just what it was. And I think a lot of my grandfather had a couple, had a couple families, few families. So like I said, when I get this honest, man, these are men. I had met neither men. My granddad passed a couple years before I was born. So I just kind of feel like, I resemble my dad a lot, man. When I finally saw a picture of him, and I just kind of think, some of the stuff, man, we just get honest. You just kind of you get it, and you don't really have any control. I think it's one of those things like, the sins of the father comes to visit the son, or whatever the saying is. You know what I mean? So like, a
Yeah,
lot of that is.
I've heard of that. That's why, I made make um I just make efforts and so on, so forth, to really get to know my family and just observe them, because sometimes we can't fight our genetics. I know some people may hate that. I mean, it's like if you look at your physique, like if I look at my physique, when I meet my uncles and so on and so forth, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're just like your dad." You know what I mean? So they can see their brother in me. It's like a photocopy. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Or his sisters can see it. So I'm saying, if that's there in the physical sense, then why wouldn't the behavior be there?
exactly.
Even if you throw in a little environmental differences, obviously I did not grow up the
Yeah.
same way, my father and my mother did. But if you throw in the environment, if you put a lion, if I use Madagascar for instance, that lion grew up with the penguins and the giraffe, but he was still a lion. When he got hungry, he's trying to maul his brethren. It was the zebra. So, I mean, it took a lot for him not to carve that brother up. So,
Yeah.
I love that movie, by the way. I
I
love
love
that
it
movie.
too, man. I love it too. I watched all three of them.
um,
Hey, with
MDP. So, I mean, would you? I mean, you don't have to answer the question, but do you feel the need to live a similar lifestyle?
no, I really don't. I feel like, I'm kind of different than a lot of guys that I notice on the forum, in the way that I'm a little bit more seasoned as far as age and experience. So I've kind of done everything inside out. A lot of these guys are like, well, eventually I want to settle down and get that ideal wife or whatever, and whatever she looks like. And a lot of guys are going overseas or whatever. But I kind of feel like I lived that life. And as far as, not to say, I really can't see myself ever get married again, man, to be honest with you guys. I mean, I have kids. So, according to a lot of guys' rationale, the only reason why you would get married is to have a kid and to have that woman that's just really down. And I kind of felt like, if that came across, man, it would be a great thing, it'd be a blessing and all. But I have kids, and I kind of feel like a lot of my concentration right now, they're teenagers, and a lot of my concentration is on them. I'm not actively seeking anything. As a matter of fact, I'm open about this with everybody I meet. So I feel a certain satisfaction, man, with my life. I feel like what defines my life is being a parent and being a good brother and being a good uncle or whatever the case might be, man. So I'm really content.
Nice, nice, nice.
That's cool.
Right.
And also too, I guess another reason why I wanted to sort of bring you on is you've had a, I guess, a life changing experience. So I
Yeah,
guess if you want to sort of, if you care to divulge that and
yeah,
how that
yeah.
came about.
So probably close to 20 years ago now, I kind of discovered that I had an enlarged heart at the time, and it was right around the time that my mom passed. It was about the time I had all these things happen. Like my mom passed, I had got engaged, and I just discovered that through just normal tests and physicals, and I wasn't feeling that well, but I discovered I had an enlarged heart. So you know. Um, the doctors kind of try to medicate it away, I guess, and kind of deal with it that way. And they really didn't want to do anything surgical. But it wasn't until years later that my health had deteriorated so much that I was like I was in a recliner, man, maybe 10 hours out of the day, and I just, I was really weak. I had lost a lot of weight. I had lost just who I was, as a person, man. I still had my, kind of personality, man. But I mean, physically, I can see, there was just a lot of changes. And I guess long story short, it's a really trying time, man. I really, to be honest with you, there was a time where I wasn't really sure about the next day. It got really bad. And one thing about having a heart condition, man, they misdiagnosed it at first. And one thing about having that is just it teaches you a lot of humility when you're in your late 20s or your 30s and your what should be your physical prime, and you have a deteriorated physical state. It just teaches you a lot of humility, and it teaches you humanity, more so. And I could really relate to. I felt like, basically, I felt like what an 80-year-old, my doctor was telling me, I felt like what an 80-year-old man would feel. You know what I'm saying? But then the real frustrating thing about it is because I would have people all the time say, oh, I go to the hospital and they, what do you have? And I tell them, and they're like, oh, you're way too young to be that sick, or you're way too young to be, needing a heart or whatever the case might be. So, a lot you get tired of hearing that after a while, but it's one of those situations, man. It's like real deal, and I kind of feel like, I mean, I feel like when you come through something like that, man, you feel like you can come through anything. It's like, but I mean, I really, for me, it really was no choice. I got on the transplant list, and I had kids to look after, man. So I mean, my kids kept me alive. You know what I mean? So I mean, around that time, so. I had kids to look after, man. My mission, I had things to accomplish. I had things to finish, man. I had my life in front of me. And ironically, that's what made me a good candidate for the surgery. So I had a double transplant. I had a heart and liver transplant at the same time. And this has been about 7.5 years now.
Wow, wow,
Wow,
wow.
Yeah.
wow, heart and liver.
Yes, sir. I was checked out. They said I was checked out for 8 hours, So that's really wild to think about.
Crazy. When you say checked out, do you mean you were sedated or you were?
Clinically dead.
Oh wow, 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 wow. That's
Yeah, I mean when
amazing.
they, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's really something to think about. And they actually have a physical, I guess, DVD or tape or something of the surgery, because they tape. I gave them permission to tape it just for future, or I got it done at a kind of a teaching hospital, basically, where they have students and everything else. So I gave it to them for, I kind of dedicated the video to science, so to speak, where they actually taped it. And one of my nieces actually is she's in the medical field. She wanted to watch it. She wanted me to sit down and watch it with her. I just couldn't watch it. It's just too crazy, man, looking at yourself like that.
It's crazy. Do you find that? I mean, sometimes I look at certain celebrities that have made it through things like that, and
Mhm.
I can't even imagine. But sometimes I wonder, what state does it put them in? Does it put them in a state of humility, or does it put them in a state of, you know what, I've only got one life to live. You never know, so let me go the way I want to. And the example I'd give for that is that I always thought that Kanye, because I think he was in a life-threatening car crash or
Right.
something, and I thought that after that, I mean, not to bring in any religious aspect in it, but I thought that wow, it's like you've been given a second chance. That's my concept in some aspects. So I'm thinking that being given a second chance, maybe he should show humility, but he seems like he's all up in people's face talking wildness. So I'm wondering, I'm wondering what does that what does that brought, or do you feel that it really depends on the individual? Because I guess some people can take it really humble as like an appreciative and a serenity, or others can be like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ham because I don't know when, you know what I mean, when I'm really gonna get checked out. So what would you say your
Um,
take on it was?
I think for me it was really kind of really humbling. I mean, I kind of felt like I was really starting over. I mean, it took me probably a whole week to be able to walk again. So, that you're in bed. I was in bed for a month straight after the surgery. So, it was really it gave me time to kind of think about things, but really humbled me. But then I can see where some people get this, well, invincibility type thing to them. Like I feel like with Kanye, he's a guy who I feel like he's on the other side of the polar opposite. I mean, I kind of felt like he was a guy everybody really doubted, and then that just kind of gave him more fuel to his fire. He's kind of a guy that strikes me as somebody who just didn't have his self belief probably was wavering at one time. He probably was a guy that didn't have a lot of kind of um, I don't know what the word is, self confidence, but then um he does it a lot, I think, to kind of make up for insecurities. I guess the way is one, but I mean, he appears to be supremely confident. I do feel like you come through that with a sense of either. It depends, though. It depends if you have any spirituality about you. Some people come through like, okay, God delivered me and everything like that, but like other people who are not so much subscribed to that, they kind of feel like, well, I'm strong enough to get through this by myself, and I'm they come through with a God complex, if that makes any sense. And I just feel like that's just my take on it. I've met people on both ends of the spectrum. But I will say I don't have a God complex from it by any means, but it does give you more confidence that you can go through breakups, you can go through, whoever leaves me. I don't really, I really feel like you go through this and you do feel a sense of strength. You gather strength from it, but I don't think it's anything where it should go to your head where you treat other people, you know, you treat other people badly. That's all.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
would you say you're spiritual?
Yeah, I think I'm spiritual. I took a really roundabout, and like I said, I grew up in a real repressed kind of childhood. So it made me um more of the person who I am today, where it's kind of like where you forbid this and you forbid that, and it's like you're pulling on this chain, and then eventually when you let it go, meaning when you get of age, that chain's gonna snap back real hard. So for a while I never really, I don't subscribe to a certain religion, but I feel like I'm a spiritual person where I'm in touch with um I'm in touch with those kind of things, and I do feel like um I do feel like there's some credence to a lot of it, but I don't know. I guess I'm one of those people that I really haven't subscribed to, like saying, okay, this is right and this is wrong. I'm not a judgmental person, and I don't know if that makes any sense, but I do feel like I'm in touch with my spiritual essence and the essence of others. So
I feel what you're saying. I get you on that. I'm kind of in the same boat myself. So when you were saying that, I was, you know, lending more understanding to where I stand on that particular
yeah,
aspect.
I feel like it gave me purpose, man. I feel like that surge coming through that, man, made my purpose clearer, if that makes any sense. I feel my purpose now is to help other people and be the best father I can be, and just be just be a good person, a good dude. I felt like I've done some things that I'm not particularly proud of looking back, but I can't say I don't have any regrets, and I feel like it's important to live without regrets.
Yes, I would concur definitely on that. So regarding the concept of game and the so coming, what would you say that you've gathered? What can you lend to the discussion of game? What aspects or angles that would you say that you're fairly well versed in?
Mhm. I think style has its place in the game as far as um, style, as far as figuring out what your lane is. Let's say I think there's a lot of guys who take somebody else's game and try to make it their own. When I think you should really, tailor your style. I've never listen. I've never been a guy that followed trends. I've never been a person that was like, well, person A is he's getting pussy because he's this, that, and other, or he's more alpha, or he's ass full game, or I was just a person that, I mean, be honest with you, man, I was one of those person that I was one of those people that was really quiet and like soaked up all the game I could, and then just went out and started experimenting. So I think my game is, I mean, it's to the point where I play a lot of I do a lot of I come with a lot of humor. I feel like I'm a person that, I like make people around me feel good and feel good about themselves. And I find a lot of humor and shit that I probably shouldn't find humor in. And I'm just a person that's, I'm an optimist like that, and I just kind of feel like I can make anything funny, like in a lot of ways. That's part of my game. I think um being direct, taking the lead, you know what I mean? Just taking the lead in situations where you with a woman, like a woman's not gonna lead herself. She's looking for the guy to lead. Is indecisive, then you can lose a woman. She can be feeling your vibe, she can be feeling your style, she can be feeling what you're saying. But if you don't take the lead, there's certain things that we do. We have to lead the interaction. And I feel like sometimes that part of the equation gets lost on some people. They kind of feel like, well, I can let her come to me, or I can, she's gonna come to me because of money. I know that's a big kind of discussion in the last 24 hours or whatever on the forums. Like, people are talking about money versus game, and it's not really even like that, man. It's kind of like, what good is money? What good is that if you don't have any kind of style about yourself, or any kind of game, or any kind of way to persuade a woman? I mean, basically, it's just about persuading people to do what you want them to do. It's not, I won't even confine game to just women. It's just, you got to have game throughout life. So I feel like I'm just one of those people, man, that, you know, that's, my game is more, I guess if you want to say it's like, it's a certain game. My game is really nowadays being direct and I think shocking people. I'm more so now where, like I said, I'm a guy that's in his early 40s, man, and I don't feel like anything's off. I know the truth. I feel like I know I can size up people really good. I can size up a woman a lot of times when I first meet her. And a lot of times I'll just say stuff for shock value just to get a reaction. And I think a lot of my interaction now are like overly sexual lately. I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, if I'm thinking something, I'll say that shit.
How do you find that that's working? The being overly sexual, because that's something that I'm leaning towards. I'm finding
Yeah.
out that being coy, and especially now that I'm living in America, because America, I find that they can take it more. A lot of people you say it, and I mean, compared to what some dudes say here, there's nothing that me with my British background can say that they haven't heard. Like, there's not, they'll be like, oh my
Mhm.
god, the only reason they might be shocked is because my accent. So their guard
Yeah.
was down. But if I'm coming off like, hey baby, how about you lit my ass real quick with this ice cold. She'll be like, okay, I done heard that like, 17 times this morning. So, you know what I mean? But if
Yeah.
I say it with my accent, that's the only reason she'll be initially shocked. So, how do you
Yeah.
find that you being overly sexual? Have you kind of measured a before and after? regarding
Yeah.
the responses to it.
Yeah, I have. I mean, when I don't go to the you baby, I need you. I want you to lick my ass. I don't quite go there. I think I stopped short on that. But I am kind of. I use a lot of double entendres. I guess you could say. I kind of, even when texting now, man, I'm kind of. I guess I'm kind of like straight to the point where I'm letting my intentions be known. Because I feel like nowadays you can't really suffer from being vague. You can't really let a woman, you can't, let's go to back to leading. You can't let a woman think what she's going to think. You have to lead her in action to let your intentions be known, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think that's where my game is when I say sexualize. I may actually say what I want to do, or and then I'll pull back and give her more to that, add more layers to it. So basically where or what I've been doing, especially with black lizard, and I know Mama, you love black lizards, and Rude Boy does too, so we
Hell
speak on that.
yeah!
Amen, my brother.
Yes, sir. So what I do with that is, a lot of times, they may think, oh, he just wants to hit it. Well, you know what? I'm going to lean back on it. I'm not even going to even bring up the sexual aspect, and I'm going to show you other parts of my personality. And then basically, I'm going to, talk you over to the edge to where it's going to be kind of be a foregone conclusion. There's been women who I've spoken with where I didn't bring up sex for, and obviously, this comes with you obviously working on other stuff on the side, and you got other girls or whatever. But this one particular, it'd be a particular girl that obviously maybe she's one of those eights and she's really bad, and every guy that comes to her is sexualizing. Well, I'll do just the opposite. So contrast is like big in my game. I like the contrast game is what I do. I think the best describe it. So I won't even bring up sex. I'll bring up everything else. I'll talk all that other shit, and get into her mind and find out how she is and how her family is, and all that, without really giving her too much on my side of the curtain. And eventually and I've had women come out, well, you haven't even brought up sex. Like, it's been a whole week. You haven't even mentioned, any of that. You know what I mean? So I know it's on her mind at that point. But like I said, it's me manipulating and leading the interaction where, I'm going to lead it away from that. I don't want to do what that lizard is expecting of me. I want to do the opposite. Because if I'm doing the opposite, then that's going to lead to that intrigue. That's going to lead to her, pulling back more layers and trying to figure out what this mystery is. Meanwhile, she's going to be on her back. So that's kind of what my game is. You know, I don't try to dress like anybody else. I come with, I try to come with my own little thing, and I don't follow trends and shit like that. I just, I like to create contrast, because, like, with black lizards, sometimes that can be good. And like you were talking about the accent, man. You know, I feel like a lot of times, I think that kind of catch some of the sisters off guard. I don't, maybe you can speak to that, but y'all can speak to that. But sometimes I think that's, I think I mentioned this on the board, man, with your Idris Elbas and all those kind of guys, man. They and a lot of lizards love that type shit.
Yeah, they've definitely, and I agree so much with what you're saying. They've definitely, if I see Idris, I should buy him like bare rounds of beer, because he's opening a lot of doors for me, and I'll even use him as a warm up. If I bring them over, I'm like, hey, do you want to watch Luther? Because Luther's the
Yeah,
one show where he's actually himself, because he always plays an American normally. So
yeah,
in
yeah,
Luther, he's totally a London guy. So he's helped a lot. And I've asked Lizard, and what I like a little bit about American lizards is that they tend to tell you pretty much everything. Sometimes they tell you too
yeah,
much, and you want to tell them to,
yeah,
pipe down. But and the good the good side is you can get a lot of information from them, because one is like, oh my gosh, I'll watch anything with Luther. I mean, with Idris Elba in it. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
really? I says, I said, why is that? Is it like his looks? Because I'm like, there's a lot of black Americans that look like him. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, not saying look like him, but he doesn't have a unique physique where, or unique look where I'm like, okay, I've never seen that look in America. America's like millions of people. They're like, she was like, okay, it's his accent. So I'm like, hmm.
mhm,
So I take it on board. And I mean, I've had lizards that have blatantly told me like, oh my gosh, if you keep talking, I'm just getting wet. You know what I mean?
See,
Oh my
They've said
goodness.
that, and I'm like, rare. You know what I mean? And I've done what you've done and played the contrast game because I think a lot of the brothers where I'm at, like I said, they're pretty raw. So they come straight. They don't play that beat around the bush stuff. So if I come direct, they've heard it so many times. So I do what you do, and I talk about anything. I'll talk about the UK. I'll talk about
yeah,
places I want to go. I said, you want to come over and watch some British shows? I've got Snatch. I've got Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrel. We can have some
mm,
wine. I'll just keep reiterating or refreshing about Britain. I say, yeah, in London, we tend to drink wine like this, or we call pants trousers. So I keep on doing that, and her head's probably like, damn, I don't know what to make of this brother. So
yeah,
it lends to what you say about contrast as well as mystery, which you mentioned
yeah,
earlier regarding the marriage. Like you shouldn't let the lizard know everything because once she's known
right,
it, she's bored. She's done seeing the film already, or she thinks she knows
yeah,
what's gonna happen. She wants to get a
yeah.
new DVD. So you
There
gotta
you
make
go.
you gotta make the plot you gotta make the plot strange. So to me, they don't know. Lizards have said, I can't figure you out because I got that
Yes,
British
yes,
stiff upper lip. I don't do
yes,
emotions. They'll be like, I've called some, they don't respond, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, this and that," and I'm like, "No, it's all right." And the British tone is not like, "Damn girl, I've been hollering at you. You ain't gonna pick up your damn phone. Damn, I've been sending." I'll be like, "Really? So you don't pick up the phone though?" So my tone is so monotone, or even if I'm happy
mhm,
that you like that, you like I'm throwing that down, baby. I'm like, yeah, it's all right. So they're like, damn, I don't know what you like or what you don't like. So it lends to the mystery that you were talking about earlier.
yeah, yes, sir. And then, like to add to that, I don't know if Rude Boy want to touch on that, but let me just say this: you just hit on a very, very, very important point because the minute that she knows everything, then the book is over. And then like there's been, my, like we were talking about the whole marriage. Like there were times in the marriage where, you know, she would come to me like, I can't figure you out. Or, I guess, like, what am I, I don't know about you or shit like, like you were just saying, like, but then there's stuff that, and that happens in interactions with lizards now. It's kind of like, yeah, you're not, uh, they tell so much about themselves up to the point of being like overly like TMI, like too much information. They'll tell about, I just had a lizard tell me about, her sister's baby daddy's incarcerated and he was selling dope, he was doing this and doing that. Like she's basically building a case, prosecute a case against the guy, and I don't know the guy from Adam. I'm just, me and her are just talking. So like you said, overexposure, but then if you're holding back something, or if they always have to figure out like, I don't know about, if you can keep them off balance or off their equilibrium, then that's going to make them want to dig deeper. A lot of guys talk about, well, I've seen this on the forum too. Well, I banged this broad, but I can't bang her again. Or what can I do to keep her around? Well, some of that stuff is, give her more to that book. Let her read a couple chapters, close the book. You don't give her everything. You want this to be something where, it plays on and on and on. So you have to be able to have new wrinkles. You have to be able to keep some stuff to yourself. And like you said, one thing I think that does wonders with your game, you probably can attest to, moments that, you're educating these lizards, especially lizards in the West. They don't necessarily, like the black lizards, they don't necessarily travel. Like I know some that do now, that, now the Caribbean and all those, Eastern Europe, all these places are popular. But a lot of them, man, they're amazed that they're not used to seeing a black guy with an exotic accent, or something like that. Like, so, like you said, that's what the appeal is. And then now you're giving them layers. Like you're talking about things they don't know. You're educating them. You're showing them other things to you. You're like, damn,
Well,
you know.
to
So
to
that's
to cut you there, sorry, that is probably one of my um, tools that I use. So,
hmm
especially with black lizards, when I say that I've been to, the Greek islands by myself, or I've been to certain places, countries that they would never imagine going to, and I know girls, who I speak to. I mean, I went to Iceland twice in 1 year. You
Hmm.
know, most brothers aren't going to go to Iceland, right? So I think I think with black girls, that usually gets me far with them. Even a
Yeah.
lot of white girls too. You know, like you said, a lot of people they go where Caribbean, they go Mexico, they
Yeah.
go to these countries. They might go Paris or
Yeah.
UK, but you know, Eastern Europe, most people aren't going to go to those places. So I think for me, that's a big selling point. That's what I talk about. I don't, you know, I'm not going to talk about my job. Or I'm not going to talk about
Mhm.
my car, or you know, or the tricep curls that I did at the gym. You know what I mean? You got to
Right.
talk something that sets you apart, and I think for me, that's what sets me apart. Some other guys, maybe it's their look.
Hmm.
I guess Moma, you know, his English accent in Florida. I guess you know you don't hear that too often, not from a black guy, anyways. So I mean, I guess I'm speaking for Moma on that. But again, I totally agree with you. And when talking to girls too, like you said earlier, I was talking to a girl the other day, and she was just you know giving me all this sob story. She grew up in a orphanage, and you know da da da, and you know she's supposed to get married 3 times, and blah blah. And I'm just looking at her, and you know, and to add to that, in the past, I've actually had white girls come up to me, and I've been talking to them. They straight out come ask me, do you date white girls, or you know, are you only into black girls? And I'm looking at them like, hell yeah, I'll date anything. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the
Yeah.
mystery, being quiet. I think you know, in the forum, a lot of guys think you have to say the right thing, or you see a lot of guys saying, "What should I text? What should I text? What should I say?" Well, sometimes don't say anything. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right. And then like you said, like with both of you brothers, man, I could tell like, that's what get that's what'll pull a chick that maybe an indifferent chick. They may pull her if you're working with her emotions, man. That's what guys don't understand. It's not necessarily what you're saying, but sometimes it's how you're saying and what you're not saying. And it's being able to pull when you can work her emotions and you can like you're working her emotions by saying, oh, you went to Iceland, oh God, I've or you tell her, well, I've been Warsaw, oh wow, I've never been there. Like you showing her, what one thing I do when I'm texting, man, and it's been brought up a couple times, but I don't think guys stress it enough. I keep on my phone, I keep like different, like I've been different places, so like different food or whatever. So I might shoot a picture, it might not even be any words, but I'm just trying to spike her emotions. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do something different. I'm trying to, maybe this is like you guys talked about places that she hadn't traveled, or introducing her to a new cuisine, or introducing her to a new anything. And it's you're touching one of those, you're touching an emotion, and so when you're pulling into that her spirit of adventure or something like that, then that's how you're hooking them. That's your hook right there. So
Definitely, definitely. A lot of girls, I mean, like to add to that, I've been with some black girls who don't eat sushi. They never tried it, right?
mhm.
You take them to a sushi joint. I mean, we're lucky in Toronto. We have a lot of different restaurants. We even have, what is it, Himalayan restaurant. We have, you know, Ethiopian restaurants. So if you're adventurous enough to go to those places, a lot of, you know, a lot, I would say most brothers aren't going to go to these type of places. I don't know many brothers that eat sushi, right?
Yeah,
So, you know, and I mean sushi, the Japanese fish, not the
not the little California rolls, huh?
I don't know what you call it. I guess snatch.
Oh, pum pum,
Okay,
bowcats, wah, wah.
snatch, not the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah, it definitely depends. I mean, for those listening who have not traveled or not seasoned enough that to have accumulated a lot of travel mileage under their belt, I just think mystery is something that's underrated. So I think other podcasters or something have mentioned like sometimes you just have to shut up in the sack, man. You know what I mean? When you got in
Yeah.
the sack, don't say too much because sometimes you said so much that you've given her everything, and they like mysteries. They like these books, these
Hmm.
50 Shades of Grey, these Mills and Boons, where they don't know what's happening as they turn the page. You know what I mean? So to
Right.
them, romance, if you look at their romance is like, a mystery. They don't know what Thingy Bob's gonna do? Oh, he's with his wife. Does he love her or is he gonna leave for me? So they like that kind of stuff. When you tell them everything, it's like, okay, I'm at the end of the book. I need to go back to the bookstore, return the book that I've got, which is you, and get a new book, which is Next Man. And if Next Man don't tell them nothing, they're like, Rare, I can't seem to flick through to the end of this book. So who you wanna
Yeah.
be? You wanna be that book that you got flicked through the 2 page book, or do you wanna be the 1,000 page book? That's really your
Yeah.
choice.
There you go. You want to be, you want to be that thick book, that they can't put down. But no, I mean, you guys make some excellent points, man. But I feel like that is one thing that the mystery is underrated because I've had lizards who knew that I had two or three, four maybe that were just like her. But the fact that she could never, I've had chick that even like years, like, we'll be on and off or whatever. And years later, she's like, oh, I knew you had other chicks, but, you kept it so, you just made me feel like, I was kind of like the only one. So I didn't really care. Or they just didn't. I've had chicks that knew what was going on, saw my phone blow up and everything, but they were just too they just didn't want to rock the boat. But like I said, there's that mystery because I'm not gonna tell you more than what you should know anyway. So I think you're right about that. And then one other thing I want to bring up, man, before we go, one other thing. Um, a lot of times, man, I think some cats get it twisted because they don't separate the pussy. You hear a lot of talk about people talking about eights on the forum and she's a smoke show, she's this, she's that. But man, you have to learn how to really separate a woman's sexuality from her work, the value she brings to you. So when you're talking about somebody that you're trying to keep around, because that sexiness don't make up for, if this woman is disloyal or she's a gold digger or, a lot of guys are willing to put up a lot with a lot of shit because a chick is sexy. So
I agree,
I
and
just
I
separate that.
yeah, I agree with you again. That also comes with age. I don't know if it's because either you're not as horny as you used to be, or because you've seen it so many times. Like there's films I like I just told you, like I like Madagascar, but I can watch it now, but I didn't have the same excitement like when I first saw it. So
Hmm.
if you've seen eight for years, the eight's gonna do what the eight's gonna do, and
Yeah.
sometimes the eight pum ain't even as sweet as the five pum, which is funny. You know what I mean? You get an eight, you're like, damn. Like I met one that I was like, shit, this girl is hot. Like she kept herself in order, but when it came down to it, I was just like, damn, I felt like my experience was cut short because it just wasn't, the visual just didn't match up. So the point I'm making is
Yeah.
that you've mentioned a valid point. I think over time, if one has gone through a lot of eights or they've befriended a lot of eights, they realize that they're not as magical as they seem to be.
Mhm.
A short example: I've been going out a little bit. I mostly do a lot of solo missions. I just feel that solo is hard, but it helps to sharpen myself. I've got my regulars. I'm not hungry. I got my little lineups. I got some that are trying to get back on the team. I got my regular team, and you know what I mean. I got my D League. So I got my
You
NBA.
holding fire over there?
Yeah, I got my playoff contenders, my starting five, some bench, and I got those in the D League who are still yet to graduate. So I don't need to recruit new players, but as a owner of the team, it's I always need to go out and see what the talent's like. So I went out dolo a week ago on my own based on information that was given to me by someone in the forum, and I checked out some spots. I went out, I was like kind of tired, but I went out, and I don't know, just some reason every time I go out, they think I work there or something. So I always get this strange VIP treatment, which I'm not hating on, but you know what I mean. So I'm milling around, and the bartenders are there. They usually got the hottest bartenders. So just as I'm around them, I just start to think, and it came back to what you're saying, and I'm thinking, even if I'm with them, I mean, they got these great bodies, they look good, they smell good, but as a man, we always must remind ourselves, like, I mean, what value does she bring? You know what I mean? Don't get too caught up in the fantasy that she looks so and so. Like, don't get me wrong. An 8 looks good and you're trying to mash that. So I'm not one to say, no, man, it's value, it's value. No, it's easy to say that while I'm in my room looking at a wall that's got nothing on it. So when they're there, definitely it's different. But always kind of keep that in mind that you are the prize as a man. You
Right.
are the prize. Your value continues to increase, while hers devalues. You're like a house, she's like a car. Soon as she come off
Yeah.
that lot, the value's dropping. She might do the paint
Yeah.
work up, switch out the transmission, change the
Mhm.
tires, but that value's dropping and yours is increasing. So realize that and don't let an 8 put you out of character too much. So
Yeah.
to lend to
Yeah.
what you're
I,
saying, yeah.
yeah, I know. I totally agree, man. Basically, it's kind of that is the deal. I mean, it's still like, because it was brought up so eloquently in the forum last week that who you are, you work to get yourself to a certain position just to have this lizard come along and attach herself to you and enjoy everything during the cream side, but she wasn't there when during the shit. So it's I think it's that, and that's speaking to guys who are looking, because there are guys that are looking specifically for a V1. So I'm just saying, a lot of you end up putting up with more. They say you put up with more when a chick is an 8 or whatever, and a 9 or whatever. But I just kind of feel like if these 8s and 9s, they gravitate to a guy with confidence. They don't gravitate to a guy that's gonna let them call the shots or run them or whatever. And in this situation in the game, you're gonna lose some chicks because you want to stand your ground. You're gonna lose some chicks because you have standards. You're not gonna get every. I liken it to a fisherman with a wide net. We casting wide nets out here, but it's gonna be some trout. Some rainbow trout that get away. It's gonna be some chicks that get away. But them chicks, those chicks want you to. They're trying to bend your game, and they're trying to impose their frame.
But
You know.
as you get older to that though, yeah, know when to take the loss and take the loss with dignity.
Yes.
But a lot of times, I think, I don't know if MoMA, if you use that expression, but boomerang. These
Mhm.
girls will come back 2, 3. I've heard girls come back 5 years, 6 years, coming just checking in to see,
Yeah.
with their Facebook request, or they'll call you, or they'll try the little sly tactics. This week, I actually had a girl that I used to work with probably 4 years ago. Not a bad looking girl. I mean, she's married with a kid, but anyways, her and I didn't really. I mean, I know she hated me. I didn't like her. She was a bit arrogant, right?
Yeah.
This week she adds me on LinkedIn, and I'm like, what? So I waited about 3 days to add her as a friend. Sorry, this was last week. So yesterday, I got this message about, oh hi, how are you doing? What's new? Blah blah. But maybe we should hook up for a coffee. And I'm like, what? What? I mean, like, you know what I mean? This bitch is married. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
so I don't know where this. Well, I kind of think I know where it's coming from, but needless to say, girls are, they're scandalous, right? So.
You
And
know that,
she's rode the carousel. Who knows how many carousels she's ridden since then?
Well,
man.
she's married, but I mean, I know her husband is I shouldn't say this though, but he's a factory worker, so I think things might not be too rosy at home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know they're bait in Toronto. Then when you say that, my mind's already putting in pieces and pictures. I've had the same thing there. There was one chick I didn't know she was married, and I was hollering at her, and then she invited me to something, and then she had her husband there, and I was just thinking, what is this? So I met him. He's looking at me. I look at him and I'm just thinking, like, what's going on here? So sometimes they like to put you in a situation to see who who who's the alpha. Because some men will just, who is this, who is this, who is this? You know what I mean? The side man might just bully out the husband. She'll be like, okay, that's the one that that has won. You know what I mean? You put the two lions and see which lion gets smacked down. That's the one you cast to the side. So they run that. I mean, I've had that here. There's some. I'm bit. Like I said this year, I don't know. As we did, interviews with different people, I've had certain feelings, and I've just felt just I don't know if it's a serenity, but there's some people I just haven't. If they're long, I just chip them off, man. So one lizard I chipped her off in the sense that we were doing the thing, and then last year she was like, I think we're gonna do something different, rare, rare, rare. And I was like, okay, that's fine, because where I'm at, it's abundant, really. I've not really tried, and they're coming in. So you know what I mean? I don't. Once you have abundance mentality, which I mentioned, a podcast before. So she's been sending me text messages and that, and so on and so forth. Because I was gonna meet up with her, and she flaked and didn't pick up the phone. And I was like, done. That's it. Not talking to you again. But I'm just getting all these text messages. I'm sorry. My phone ringing, 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 and rare, 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 and I've not been answering it. But that's how it goes. I wanted to go into something that was interesting me, and Rude Boy kind of mentioned it to me earlier, and was mentioned at the beginning of this podcast. It interests me quite a little bit, and it always seems to come up. These are the recurring themes that always come up on the forum. The first one is, do white lizards like black guys in America? Do I have to be rare, rare to get them? And roll, roll, roll. Which every time, no matter what you say, no matter what data you put down, no matter who you bring on, they still come back with the same stuff. And the other one is that money to get lizards. So my take on it is, and I wrote a lengthy piece on it, but I'll give my take on it, and you guys can, give your take on it. Yes, it
Right.
helps. It helps to get lizards. My brief take on it, I don't want to keep on rambling, is money gives you mobility. It gives you the ability to go into different locales, and it gives you the ability to present yourself, put yourself at a certain status level, because you can leverage
Mhm.
that money. If money is not an object, you can go and say rare. Like when we spoke to Archie, he mentioned some things. Wear this and this and that. If you've got the money, money's no object. You can go change your wardrobe. Second thing, when I talk about locale, if you're in a VIP section, right, an exclusive party, so on and so forth, you're going to be in the company of lizards that you're not gonna see at TGI Fridays or in Kmart. You know what I mean? No knock to people who go there, because I'll frequent those places. But there's some lizards that you're not gonna see them there. So you might, but the probability is lower. So you put in money will enable you to be in different locales. So what I'm saying by these things is that it's improving your chances. But you have all these people that continuously say, no, I know a guy who makes half a mil, quarter of a mil, 200K, and he's wanking in the club. He don't get no lizards. He paid 250 for, chips and booze, and she just gave him a kiss on the lips, and went and gave this homeless guy a shiners, which we call blowjobs in the UK, on the way home. And I'm just thinking to myself, why do you guys always recycle that line? So what's you guys take on it?
You
Can
want to go? You want to go, rude
Yeah,
boy?
let me just add one thing to that too. A lot of guys have kind of used distant light as sort of the reference. And I think, I mean, I don't want to speak for distant light, but I get the impression, and I think in the podcast he kind of mentioned that he's talking about the south of France and certain things, drinking was it a magnum of cristal. I mean, these are, and hanging out in certain clubs, which I don't think are the clubs that you and I could necessarily walk into. So whether he has money or guys in his circle have money, someone there has a lot of money to be able to afford, because models aren't hanging out with broadcast dudes, right?
Right.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
there's somebody, whether you have it or your friend has it, someone in that circle has the money to entertain these girls and afford, table service and bottles and all that kind of stuff. Um, in regards to, I mean, there's no definite in game. I mean, I have a buddy who he likes to make fun of himself. I think I've spoken to about him before. He meets a lot of girls, but again, it's the quality, right? The quality isn't, for every 10 girls he meets, maybe one or two I would actually deal with. But then I have another friend who's probably on the other end of the spectrum in Toronto, who lives in a $1 million condo. And maybe his game in the beginning wasn't too great, but right now, he's tweaked his game. And basically, he just his style of dating is basically inviting girls over to his condo, and it's game set and match. So you can say, yeah, a guy who's what was it, Moma? He's making 200,000 grand, and he does this and he does that, but he'll only need a few. Give me 5-10 minutes with him or one night with him, and trust me, he'll be pulling and making you look stupid. So I mean, if you think, and a lot of young guys, if you're listening to this, listen, work and get money. There's no shortcuts. Money will make your life easier in the long run, and it's not about women. It's just about living a better quality of life, right? Money, money, money. We go to school to make money. We work because of money. So, time is short. My Detroit players have told you about some life-changing experiences, and I think you just owe it to yourself, right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree totally. You should be doing that just to, money enables you to, like, Mama talked about, it enables you to be in the building, and, what you do with it is up to you from that point. So, I do feel like both have their place, and, um, obviously game is necessary. It's a life skill. I don't think you just use it to talk to women, but in the frame that we're talking about, yeah, definitely. But there's a lot of guys who let the money do all the talking and they end up getting played. So, if you can, yeah, it's a saying that, a lot of people, man, I think with the younger crowd, they like to stunt and flash their money, but people who have real money, the saying goes, you don't really know it. They don't go around flashing it, they don't show it. Old money don't, they're not flashy, they're really conservative. So I think, you put yourself in that place, but never leave with your wallet, because that just makes you a trick. When you leave with your wallet, that makes you and puts you in the provider, lane. So, guys are wondering, well, was she here? That's why you hear a lot of guys say, well, is she here for me or my money? Because, you get some guys who that's all they talk about is like money makes some people boring. They get money and that's all they talk about is how to accumulate more. So you have to have, obviously money's going to put you in that spot, but you have to have a well-rounded personality, charm, humor, and stories and all that other good stuff to keep you there, to get to bag that chick, So that's just all I say about it, man. It's really like a topic that has been discussed and over discussed. I still have to go back and read Momo's post. I got to read that, but I just finally feel like guys are getting this shit twisted. It's not one or the other. It's kind of like you said. Money is it can be the key to unlocking that house to get you in there. But once you're in there, you need more than that to consistently pull. Because everybody, when you get in there, everybody has money. So what difference does it make? What difference does it make when you're in the place? You know.
Yeah, it
So
yeah, it gives you options. It gives you options, and as we get older, there's certain expectations. Like I think I mentioned in what I typed up is that if you're old and I don't like to say old because some people are rare, 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 but we know when we're not 20. You know what I mean? You're not 20. If you're around a lot of people that just graduated high school and you ain't got nothing over them, you tend to wonder, you know what I mean? And you're there trying to spit the same type of game. Your game should be different, you know what I mean? You should have something else to leverage on, and it just gives you options to go into different places. When you're in different places, things fall into place. They fall more in alignment with what works. Like I said, I don't like the dot. Like I'm thinking about it today. I'll go on certain forums and I'll read stuff, and everything that's typed by a typical person from there makes me just cringe inside. There's just something poisonous about that place. You know what I mean? Now, without money, you stuck there. you
Yeah.
you can't go
Yeah.
nowhere. You're just there, and you gotta make excuses and say, nah, nah, nah. It's not. She's not quite fat, you know. She's quite. It's just that. It's just the way she stands makes her look like she's 300 pounds. Them legs aren't that thick, you know. She's real. You know what I mean? You just start talking mess.
She only has 3 kids.
Yeah, it's just 3 kids, you know. Like I know a chick that's got 10, you know. So 3 kids not bad, you know. So you start
No.
making up these foolish excuses. When you got
She's
money,
only in between. She's in between jobs, right?
yeah, yeah, all sorts of madness. I hear it, man. I've heard people say it, and I'm just like, I know it's the poison, but because I've been around, I know when I'm tasting shit and when I'm tasting, I'm like, Rara, you know, that sandwich you made for me was crazy. And when you make something, I'm like, nah, nah, you didn't put nothing in this. This was garbage. So money gives you
Yeah.
options. You know what I mean? Puts you
Yeah.
in places. I lived in Toronto in a place that was so because I moved. I didn't know anyone, so I didn't really know where to live. I just picked a place. Thankfully, I didn't land right in the thick of things, but I lived in a semi sort of hood. I used to live in Flemo. Rude Boy will probably know where Flemo was. Then I moved deeper into Scarborough, and I was privy to certain type of lizards. Then I got myself together. My situation changed. My financial clout went up mercifully, and I said, let me position myself optimally. So I moved to Young and Egg. I
Yeah.
started seeing different types of lizard. My locale alone enabled me to switch up the way I could do game. Like often I'll just be like, yeah, come to my place. And because I lived at the spot, I didn't have they can be like, what am I coming there for? I'm like, yo, I live at the spot. I said, if I throw literally, I'm not a baseball player, but I can throw a stone and crack the window of a decent club. Club, not a bar. There's a decent club across the road from me. I could throw a stone and bust the window. Literally.
Mm.
Then I could go next place. There's a next club. There's Pizza Hut. There's Starbucks. There's Tim Hortons all around me. So that saying that money, not saying I'm balling, but I'm just giving you an example of changing my financial situation. Me being in a
Mhm.
certain location enabled me to leverage it. Did it make me get the pum? No, I still needed the game, but
Yeah.
I had better access or access to more options than the smoothest rude boy who could be living in Scarborough. That as soon as he brings them around, there's bear gunman or there's bear this and that. You know what I mean? He's only privy to the types of lizards that are gonna frequent that area. Whereas I can go Scarborough if I want that. But because I got the money, not saying I got the money, but I'm just saying relatively, I can go back to my area and experience a different type. There was a lot of Europeans that lived in the building that I lived in, so I have more options. So man with money and game is obviously gonna
Mhm.
get more than man with game and no money. Same as
Right.
man with money, game, and decent physique is gonna get more than man with game and no physique because you got
Right.
something extra to work with. You know kung fu, you know tai chi. Man, speed it up, you speed it up with the kung fu. Man, slow it down, you slow it down with the tai chi. If you don't know tai
Mhm.
chi, when you slow it down, or you can go as quick with the kung fu, and he slap you up slowly. You know what I mean? So you just got more to you. So that's
Well,
how it goes.
I think a lot of guys, this game, this is a very vague concept. I think,
Yeah.
I don't call game, maybe I'm wrong, but going out there and trying to approach 20 girls in a day, for me, I don't call that game. I mean, game is wherever you are. I mean, am I wrong? I don't know. How do you guys
No.
look at it?
No. No.
I would disagree. Respectfully, only because, but I do agree with your first point. Game is not this. It's not an absolute. There's different angles to it. You know what I mean? Like you can't say, oh, you never spat, you didn't do 20 approaches. That's not game. You know what I mean? There's so many. There's certain areas 20 approaches is not gonna work. So game is the ability to adapt. My game in London was fine. I never had issue with game. I go on road anytime. Yeah, yeah, darling, what you say? What you saying? Where you from? Where ends you from? Yeah, yeah, well, come and get your number. That was what, and I came to Toronto dead. It never worked. They were like, yeah.
Moma, how long ago was that though? You did that London Street approach?
How long ago? But we're not.
10 years.
Yeah, but
Ten, right?
but the thing is, when I did it in London and I came to Toronto directly, I still had the same mentality. But I thought, you know what, I'm gonna kill it because Toronto is so multicultural that I thought to
Mm,
myself, rare in
But
London. I
you
had
adapted,
yeah.
and you changed your game. For example, when I traveled to some of these countries overseas, I came with this cocky and funny, stupid attitude, which I read about a couple of years on the forum,
mm,
and the girls just took it wrong. They didn't understand the humor. They just thought I was an idiot, and that was it. Girls that were I had pipelined and they were ready to seal the deal, and I
mm,
said something cocky and funny, and it just broke the vase. So my game, I guess, Roosh calls what an international game,
yeah,
Okay.
or he
yeah,
has what a different terms for it. But so I mean, to me, game is for every type of surrounded.
yeah.
But my Detroit players, go up. Well, your thoughts?
No, no, I mean, I see what both of you guys are saying. For me, it's something that I think some guys like you were saying, some guys use this as something that you put on in the morning and like a uniform or something like that, and then you take it off at the end of the day and put it away, tuck it away in a safe place in your closet or something. I think game is just, I mean, really, man, it's really who you are. It just has to be internalized. I think some people just haven't internalized it. And what I say by that is because it's not just, I keep coming back to the point that it's not just something that you use with women. I mean, it's something that game is, to me, is something that I live every day in my life, to be able to exercise what it is. It's basically just a lifestyle, man. It's not really necessarily something that a lot of people think it's okay. Well, this is game, and this is how I'm going to use it. It's going to achieve this, but no, they think they can put it away once they get in a relationship or whatever. No, you can't. I mean, but like you said, I don't know that you really call it by any kind of name because I really never, until joining the forum, I never really thought about it like you guys are saying. I never really put it a phrase to what we were doing. You know, I don't know. It's hard to really explain, but yeah. Anyway, I guess I'm going around in circles, but I really feel like it's just a lifestyle that you lead, and it's got to be internalized. It's nothing that you can just use now and feel like it's just something that you can just put away. Once you become aware of it and aware of the nature of women and nature of men and women relationships, then you have to use it. Or you're just gonna you're gonna be unhappy. I think in your interactions with the opposite sex. That's all.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, as you did say, and you are right, game is more than just women and men.
Yeah.
It's life. It's psychology, and it's one of the
Yes.
things that I've grown to like a lot. And my interest in it is increased as I've crossed the pond. It's social psychology. Once you understand how to if I use the word manipulate, people start to think manipulate as if I'm trying to exploit
Mhm.
people. But you have to know how to control the interaction. You have to know almost how to
Yes.
play a certain situation and invoke a certain emotion from someone in order to extract information, in order to
Mhm.
to get their take on something, to see where they stand on it. It goes in terms of business, it goes in terms of relationships, it
Yeah.
goes in terms of just trying to get the slam, or when you're in a long-term relationship you still have to employ it. So as you said, it's not a hat that you put on when you're going out to the mall or something. You have to wear that continuously. You know what I mean? You have to internalize it, where you breathe it, where you don't even think about, where you've honestly have to, someone's like, rare, that what you said there, like, how did you come up with that? And you're like, I don't
Mhm.
even know. It's like you swimming or you boxing and you counter and you just doing it automatically. So definitely it's a part of life, and that's something we have to do. And I think that's why when Rouge talks about inner game, I think inner game has such a big, it takes such a big importance that if you've got strong inner game, you can flop on the other stuff and you still be all right.
Mhm.
Whereas if you've got great external game, which is basically a lot of lyrics and lines, tricks and hats and magic, but your inner game
Yeah.
sucks, you're gonna lose a lot
Yeah.
of the stuff that you gather, because eventually they'll see that you ain't for real. You know what I mean?
There you go. Fugazi. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. But I guess we've gone on for a bit. This has been great. I'd love to just keep rolling because quite energized. I don't know if it was that, you know what I mean, the music at the beginning, but it's like a little cap. Have me
You're gonna have
hyped
to
up.
start introducing this music. You're not letting out the secrets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my cousin Amokwa to come
Oh
on and I get that off him and then he's gonna he's gonna introduce it. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up for the time being. It was really great having you on board, MDP.
Yeah.
Glad to
Thanks for
have
having me,
you.
Doc.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
showing up.
Thanks.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yep. So yeah, it was great having you on as MDP. This is myself, Moma, and
Rude boy.
Rude Boy, and that's it for today. So we're signing off. Peace.
Peace.